What did we learn in week 1 of preseason? Marvin Harrison Jr. not having the best debut. Not his fault, but the Arizona Cardinals end up falling to the New Orleans Saints, losing 14-16 on a field goal winning drive. Let me tell you why it's not all doom and gloom. Let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack that like button and subscribe. On this channel we cover everything Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, every conversational piece you could possibly think of, so subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. Alright, everybody, let's go and dive right into it. Let's talk about why it's not so doom and gloom for the Arizona Cardinals, now advancing to 0-1 in the preseason. And I guess the best way to describe it is that it's preseason, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. In 2 or 3 weeks from now, it does not matter that the Arizona Cardinals lost versus the Saints. I honestly think there's a lot of big takeaways to take away from this specific game alone. Now, the whole debut of Marvin Harrison Jr. was definitely kind of spoiled, unfortunately. He seemed like he played in the first drive and then kind of made his way out after the first drive. Now, it didn't help that it was literally a 3-and-out, and we just didn't see Marvin Harrison Jr. targeted or get the ball thrown to him at all. So definitely very unfortunate there. Hopefully in week 2 or maybe week 3, we'll see a little bit more of a longer appearance for Marvin Harrison Jr. And if it doesn't happen, okay, that might be up to Jonathan Gannon, and we'll kind of figure out how the rest of it goes. But we're almost at the regular season where we can not have to worry about who's playing, who's not playing. But let's dive right into this game, right? First half of this game, the offense was very, very bad. It was very, very bad. Now the defense, very, very good in the first half. Now let's stick with the offense here real quick. Desmond Ridder. I don't know how much more times I can say this, but Desmond Ridder does not look good. And I said this before here in training camp as well. I had the privilege of going to a lot of these training camps, and I've said this multiple times. Desmond Ridder does not look good at all. He doesn't look good. He throws a few interceptions here and just, I don't know, it doesn't really seem like he's completely comfortable with the offense, and I get it, right? Clayton has one more year over Desmond Ridder in this offense, so that's probably why he looked better. But at the end of the day, you expect a guy who actually started in the NFL to kind of use that experience to make himself look better, but he really didn't. He ended up finishing this game 4 for 9 with 43 yards. Now, please keep in mind that he actually played the entire first half. The entire first half was Desmond Ridder. Now, he did have one good rush, and it's probably the highlight of his game. He actually did have a total of 5 rushing attempts with 39 total yards. And you got to give kudos to where kudos is due. Whenever that pocket broke, he did make some plays with his legs. So definitely give him kudos to that. Now, I don't 100% believe it's Desmond Ridder's fault in terms of why this offense was so bad. The offensive line was bad. It constant pressure on Desmond Ridder, but you can kind of say the both for both, right? With Clayton Tune, there's pressure on him as well, and then also, pressure on Desmond Ridder as well. There was not first string starters at all for the Cardinals. Now, there was a glimpse of Marvin Harrison Jr., like we mentioned a little earlier, but it was literally, he came in, 3-and-out, he was out. We didn't see Marvin Harrison Jr. after that. Obviously, we didn't see James Conner. Saw a lot of guys that were potential 2s, or guys that were going to fight for a 53-man roster spot, right? So offense was not good in the first half at all. And it almost kind of seemed like they didn't click until like the last drive or two. So very, very unfortunate. But one thing I want to give a huge shout out is to the defense on the first half. Man, they showed out. Now, you got to keep in mind here that this is our second string defense on the field. They held Derek Carr to 2 of 6, 12 yards. They held Alvin Kamara to 2 rushing attempts, 3 yards. Now, granted, they only had 2 drives under their belt, and maybe it takes a little bit for them to kind of get accustomed to, kind of getting into the groove. We'll give them that, right? But we also got to give kudos to where kudos is due. This defense really came out and showed out, right? Because although Derek Carr only played for 2 drives, there was still some viable pieces on the offensive line, which are their starters, that were playing for like in drive 3 and drive 4, right? And it felt like the Arizona Cardinals were constantly providing pressure to the opposing offensive line, which is definitely really exciting, right? Now, there wasn't a lot of sacks being, tallied up for the Arizona Cardinal defense, but man, was there pressure. Man, was there a very, very good level of this defense doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, right? And I'm talking about the Arizona Cardinal defense being able to tackle. Like, that's crazy. That's really unheard of. We do not ever talk about the Arizona Cardinal defense being able to tackle. But they did. They did a very good job. And on top of that, they were able to stop the run game. We mentioned this a little earlier. Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the league, was 2 carries, 3 yards. That's it. That's it. That's all he had. So the Arizona Cardinal defense, second string versus their first string offense, did a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic. Now, heading into the second half kind of felt like it was opposite, right? The defense kind of, they allowed points, right? At the end of the day, they allowed points because we're now rolling with our third string or fourth string defense. So I don't really blame that too much, but our offense really got going. When the offense was under Clayton Tune, that's when it started sparking, right? Clayton Tune, the first drive right after we came back from half, boom, automatically a touchdown. Now, it wasn't a touchdown from him, but he did play a big, crucial role to bring him into the red zone, right? And obviously, Michael Carter ended up, taking care of business. And Clayton Tune actually did have a respectable game, in my opinion. He was 15 for 24, 163 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, I do think that he probably should have been over 200 yards. There was actually a really nice throw thrown to Tajay Palmer, and he had it in his hand. The cornerback ended up knocking it out, and obviously, the rest is history. And he actually did have a really big, respectable comeback, right? Because I think a lot of people, when they think of Clayton Tune, they think of that Cleveland game, right, where he looked absolutely horrendous. And Tune had a very, very good showing, and he put, 14 points, or at least he put the Arizona Cardinal offense in position to get 14 points. So he has done a very fantastic job, and I feel like he's done a complete 180 from last year to now, and he did a good job, a fantastic job. Now, I want to talk about some specific players here, right? Trey Benson. I think Trey Benson had a pretty respectable game. In terms of stats, he didn't really have a big game. Now, granted, he only played in that first half with that offense. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Desmond Ridder, when he was on the field, that offense looked bad, right? So it really had it was really hard for Trey Benson to kind of get into a groove. He ended up leaving the game with 8 carries, 21 yards, right? So nothing too crazy, nothing too exciting, but I attribute that to the constant 3 and outs that we were kind of forced to be in, right? So I want to see Trey Benson have a better game next week. I'm really excited to kind of see what that looks like, but Trey Benson, obviously a player that I'm talking about because rookie, potential running back of the future for the Arizona Cardinals, and I really want to see him have a good game, hopefully next week. His game this time around was okay, right? It was okay. But the biggest, I guess, storyline leaving this game was who's going to be QB2. I don't care if you ask. To me, Clayton Tune deserves to have that QB2 position. Now, granted, there's 2 more games. I want to see what he does against the Indianapolis Colts and then in the last game as well. So I'm really curious to figure out what Jonathan Gannon's going to do. Now, we heard Jonathan Gannon come out and say he's going to give Clayton Tune every opportunity to potentially win that QB2 role. To me, what he should do, or what his coaching staff should do, is they should allow Clayton Tune to have the reps in the first half and then switch Desmond Ridder to the second half, right? Either it's with the Colts or with the last game, right? I feel like that will be a big deciding factor in terms of, can Clayton Tune replicate what he did? And that's Clayton Tune because he overall exceeded in terms of just what he did in preseason compared to a Desmond Ridder, for example. So a couple other people that I kind of wanted to chime in about the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, I think they did a pretty good job. Starling Thomas the fifth, man, great job. I think he's done a really good job last year and then kind of translating into this year. Fantastic job. We saw a little bit of Keitrell Clark here and there. One guy I want to talk about is Dadrion Demerson. Man, we saw some flashes of potentially being a safety of the future for the Cardinals. Now, we don't exactly know what's going to happen with Budda Baker. This is his last year with guaranteed salary, and I'm glad that he's actually a part of this Arizona Cardinals defense and not really kind of making a big spectacle of things. But honestly, there is something to be said about just kind of what we've been seeing from Dadrion Demerson, and I think he's actually done a really good job and shown some really good flashes. There was a big rookie mistake that he ended up having a big deep throw completed on, I guess, on a coverage that he should have had. I wasn't able to see the tape, but I'm going to take the word of the play-by-play guys that says that was his kind of zone that he ended up kind of messing up. But honestly, he kind of came back the next play and made up for it, right? Hard hitting, tracks the ball very well. Just overall had a really good game for a rookie. I'm actually excited to see what he's going to do for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'm not used to talking about rookies, right? We can always gloat about rookies or say things here and there, but honestly, I'm actually in a point where these rookies, actually looked really well. And I'm not lying to you. They actually looked really, really well. And not just that, second-year players for the Arizona Cardinals. Like, this is the staple point of what the Cardinals can be for the future, right? This is going to be the stepping block for the next 2 or 3 years of what they can potentially be. Now, if we can have a okay defense, and I'm talking about just average defense, I think our offense could potentially be a very, very good offense as long as everybody's able to stay healthy. I don't see why the Arizona Cardinals will not be able to put at least 25 points a game, right? With Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, James Conner, right? The list goes on and on. We got weapons, and obviously as long as we can stay healthy, I think kind of sky's the limit for this Arizona Cardinals. Now, I'm not going to come out here and say Super Bowl, but this team could be better than most people think, right? Especially on the outside looking in. Cardinals fans, we always have optimism. We always think that we can be better than last year. And honestly, this team does look better than last year. Just the overall makeup of what this team is, the physicality, the being able to tackle, just the small, fine details that's so different from the last regime, right? Where it almost kind of felt like our run defense was non-existent. It's different. It's absolutely different. And it doesn't matter if it was the second string or the third stringers, right? It almost seemed like these players were disciplined enough to take over the game and do what they were supposed to do, right? It's really exciting to see it. It really is. I'm not used to talking about rookies and how good they did, right? I'm not used to talking about our defense being able to tackle, being able to stop the run. This is unfamiliar territory for me as a Cardinal fan, but I'm absolutely 110% all in for it, because I think at the end of the day, this Arizona Cardinal team can be very, very special if we can stay healthy. And I want to be very, very clear. If we can stay healthy, I think we can be very good. One guy I want to talk about on the defensive side of the ball, that's a rookie, or actually two. Darius Robinson. I can't do a video without talking about Darius Robinson. This guy did good. Now, on the stat sheet, it's not going to show a sack, right? It's not going to show anything explosive, but this man was causing pressure. This man was in the backfield. This guy was rattling the opposing quarterback. I'm excited to see what Darius Robinson is going to do. He might not be a starter for game one, right? But I can very well see him having more and more snaps as the games go through, right? Maybe by the end of the season, maybe by halfway through the season, we might see him as a bona fide starter. But man, the potential of what Darius Robinson can do absolutely excites the living heck out of me. I'm so excited to see what he's going to do. He actually had a pretty good game this game. Now, let's talk about one other defensive player. It's just another rookie, Xavier Thomas. Man, oh man. High motor, aggressive, big, huge. He was the only guy that tallied a sack this game. The only guy that tallied a sack. He looks pretty darn good. Now, we saw him in very limited fashion because he's listed as a 3, potential 4, right? So we didn't see him a lot. But man, imagine the Arizona Cardinals getting a late round edge rusher to work for the Cardinals to potentially give us 4 or 5 sacks a season. Dang, Monty's out here cooking. Monty's out here cooking. That's all I gotta say. Now the cornerbacks, pretty interesting, right? We didn't see Max Melton. We didn't see Sean Murphy-Bunting. We didn't see Garrett Williams, but we did see a little Keytrell. I know there was a lot of people that really like Darren Hall. I think he did a pretty good job, if you ask me. But one guy I really want to talk about, Starling Thomas V. Man, he better make the 53-man roster. I think he had a really, really good. He actually had the potential to be a very good game. But I'm going to give him a good game. But he had the potential of making this a very, very good game. I think he actually had an opportunity to get an interception, and unfortunately, it just didn't happen. But overall, this defense as a whole played better than I expected. I'm excited to see what we're going to do versus the Colts. I'm excited to see what we're going to do against the Broncos. I feel like the Arizona Cardinals team is better than most people give them credit for. So darn excited to see what the Cardinals are going to do in the next 2 weeks. So ladies and gentlemen, what are your big takeaways? What did you learn in this game? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Let me know here in the comments below. I appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cards.